and relationships, how they take a good situation and mess it up, or how they take a bad situation and make it worse. My main intention here is not to point fault or finger at anyone. It's really to bring awareness to the situation of female faux pas in the world of business, because awareness is really a game changer. Awareness works like this. When you're aware of what works, you do that. And when you're aware of what doesn't work, you do that. For driving a car, we have driver's education, so we become aware of the rules of the road. But in something as important as male-female relationships, we don't even have a guidebook. No one even knows what the rules are. So you may wonder how I learned this somewhat challenging, chargy information. And if we have time at the end, I can tell you about my mentor. But suffice to say right now, we're going to talk about the rules of the game of business. And it might be a challenging topic. So take a deep breath. Challenging because you might recognize yourself in some of these scenarios. Take a deep breath and fasten your seatbelt. So men make more money than women, right? Oh, Linda, we're not ready for that yet. Thank you. Men make more money than women, right? Who wants to venture a guess why? Go ahead and unmute and shout it out.
They ask for it.
Okay, they ask for it. Why else, y'all?
They like expect it.
They expect it. Okay, these are awesome answers, and they point directly to what it is I'm going to talk about. The main reason why men make more money than women is the same reason that you can't win in Vegas. And that is because they own the house. What does that mean? Well, the entire world outside of our domestic walls is created by the masculine intelligence. Our school system, our political system, our road system, university, it's created by the male mind. And that's the world that we as women interface with. And the men created the world according to their understanding of the world. And that's what I mean, and what anyone really means when they say it's a man's world, is that they made up the rules. So if we want to win the game of business, we're going to have to learn to play by the rules of the game. Now, it's rare that women will do this. Why? Is it because we can't? No, I see some head shaking. We can. We're plenty smart enough. But let's give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. Up till today, it's pretty likely that you've never even heard of the rules of the game. I mean, the book, A Woman's Understanding to the World of Business, has not been written yet. And we weren't taught that way. Our MBAs did not teach us that. Our law degrees didn't teach us that. And to tell you the truth, most of our parents didn't know it either. What we grew up thinking is that you go to college or you go to grad school, you get your diploma, you graduate, you work hard, you stay late, and you do overtime and do what you're told. And we think that that's the way to the top, but that's not even the surface of it. That is not even the smallest drop. Most of it is not true. What do I mean by that? Well, who gets paid more, the workers or the players? Unmute and shout it out. Who gets paid more?
Players. The players.
The players.
Okay, name a few players. Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey,
Steve
Who are the
Jobs,
players?
Bill
Steve
Gates,
Jobs. Now
Jeff
name some
Bezos.
or some of the Rockets. Name some of them.
James Harden.
Harden, oh my gosh, he's not working one drop. He is partying and dressing up for the party, right? So what we don't know is that working hard is not going to get us where we want to go, but knowing the rules of the game and playing the game is what is going to get us where we want to go. So a man walks into a bar. His friends are around watching TV, a sports show. What's the first question he asks?
What's the score?
What's the score? Now a woman walks into a bar. A bunch of her friends are sitting around the TV watching a sports show. What does she notice?
Colors.
Right, what they're wearing.
What they're wearing, colors, good. What else?
Her friend's mood.
Exactly. She's noticing the people, the relationships, where people are sitting, who's with whom, who's getting with whom, who's looking to get with whom. She's noticing the personal dynamics. Now, this is super valuable in business, but we don't even know that we see the world that way. And we don't even notice that we're failing to observe that there's a game on and that the main question is, what's the score? So, business is a game. Why do we know it's a game? Because it was created by the male mind. And to the male mind, everything is a game. The pursuit of the female is a game. The capturing of the female is a game. Riding your bike to work or to school and pretending that you're a warrior on a mission is a game. That is the masculine mind, always looking to conquer. And it's what makes them successful in business. Now, if you're wondering, why is Karen saying it's a game? Business is not a game. Anyone thinking that? Business is serious. I go there to make a living. Business is not a game. It's not fun. Well, let's look at what constitutes a game. Competition, rules, win and lose, goals, kickoff time, 8 to 5, an umpire, prizes, scores, even uniforms, right? The navy blue pinstripe suit. Business is totally a game. The male mind invented a world, and the world includes business. And the male mind created a world that's nothing like what the female mind would have created. And so sometimes women make men wrong for just being the way they are. I think that women would create a world more like kindergarten, where we get up, we stretch, we have a snack, we play, we run around and talk with all our friends, then we have a nap. And then when we wake up, we have lunch and tea, and then the teacher gives us an art lesson. That's the world that I would create. It would be a lot more nurturing and more like kindergarten. But guess what? Too bad. We're in the male world. So now we're going to learn how to play the game. So how we interact with our girlfriends, we're in the privacy of our own home, is different, and it's not going to win the game when we're in the world of business. So today, well, let me just say one thing. It's 100 years this year since the 19th Amendment was passed in the United States. So for a little historical perspective, we've only had the vote for 100 years. That is 5 generations. We have only really been in the business world as we know it for maximum 3 generations. It started happening around World War I. And before that, women were in traditional occupations that suited the female nature, such as nursing or teaching, or maybe we were farm workers on our family farm. We were not in the C-suite offices. We were not conditioned to those worlds. We were conditioned to the domestic caretaking and nurturing roles. Now we're in the world of business, we're shoved together with men. And so now we have to learn how to understand that world and its rules to our own advantage. Because to their advantage, men let us in. They welcome us with open arms. Come on in. but then they evaluate our performance every step of the way, just like they evaluate their men colleagues' performance. And so now we're going to show you some of the things that women do that blow our chances to advance or earn at the levels that we want to. So the first one would be that we're wishy-washy about our desires. That means that women don't speak up about what they really want. They act like they're confused, that they're uncertain. They really don't have a goal or a point for being in the business. So, in fact, maybe they're only doing it for the money. Maybe their true nature is that they'd rather be doing something else, but they need a job. So they come in and they really don't know if they want to advance in the field, what their actual goals are. But remember, business is a game, and a game needs goals. And a game also has a position that you play, and then you work out to get better at your position. Michael Jordan practiced his left-hand dribble over and over again until he got as good at that as he was at his right-hand dribble. So instead of being unsure about what you want, you have to start to be extremely clear and get clear on what you want. So first of all, declare your ambition to the people that hire you. When my company hired me, I said, I'm happy to be a business coach. What I really want to be is an international trainer with our company. And I'm going to do my best to learn everything I need to know about our material and impress people with my training skills so that I can travel to New Zealand and train our team there. Right off the bat, I said what I wanted, and I let the people who can help me get there know what it is I want. So we're looking here for clarity, and we're looking for honesty, and we're also looking for what is it that you truly love? What's the industry that you're fascinated by? Is it fashion? Is it food? Is it landscaping? What is really amazing to you that you spend your off hours learning about? You want to be honest about what fascinates you, because then it's not like work. So be honest about what fascinates you. Find a position inside of an organization that's engaged in that field, and make it a position that you really aspire to, that you're turned on about. Because you can tell how the player is going to succeed by the energy that they bring to the game. That means when you walk into your office every day, are you really excited about what it is you're setting out to do? So now, the next way that women shoot themselves in the foot is that they go it alone. They play like a lone wolf. They don't build a team. They don't get a mentor. They think that their database is adequate for what it is that they're out to accomplish. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Lone wolves starve, and men know this. Women don't know it. Now, being alone as a woman also makes you susceptible in the private world. So when you're going to meet a man, I always recommend you take a girlfriend, even if it's a first date. That way he sees you're not alone, you're not lonely, you don't need him, you have friends. Because lone women are susceptible to just whatever, we all know that. And lone men are suspect. So the best way that I tell men when I do dating coaching, the best way to meet new women is to take a woman friend with you and meet women that way, because the women will be trusting and attracted to the women. And then if there's a good guy along, she might be interested in him too. So the point of all this is find a team. If you can't find a team that's doing what you want to do, then found a team. How many of you are founders? Raise your hands if you're founders. There's a reaction button at the bottom of your screen. You can raise your hand. Okay, so there's some founders here. Congratulations, that's it. Now a founder's job is to build a team so that they work their way out of job by job by job, and they have more competent people take over from them to do the jobs that they don't want to do so they can do the things that the founder does. Okay. Be sure to write down your questions about these things. So the third thing women do, and women do this all the time, we underestimate the seriousness of men, and we underestimate the seriousness of the players. We act like it doesn't care. We don't care, or that it isn't important, or this game is stupid, or we make fun of the things that men think are important. Men are intense. They're ruthless. They are competitive. They take their game seriously. Men treat business like life and death. If we do not treat business like life and death, they think, who is this person coming into my livelihood, my retirement, the way that I'm supporting my family, the way that I'm supporting my community? Who is this little girl flipping her hair? They don't take us seriously. Look, you cannot underestimate the seriousness or the ruthlessness of men. Watch Boiler Room. Those guys are dead serious about their money. And if we come in with our attitudes that we think this is stupid, they are not going to promote us and they are not going to give us the business. That is my favorite mistake. Oh, this isn't important. What the heck? Men take it very important. Okay. Now, some of y'all will like this. I remember one day I was walking down the street when I used to live in New York, and I looked down and there was this key ring on the ground, so I picked it up. It was like this cool key ring. And when I turned it over, it said Drama Queen. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's a sign from the universe. I am a drama queen. So bringing disturbance to the space disrupts the pace of business. So when you bring your drama could be exaggeration, complaining, bringing your problems from your private life into the workspace, getting emotional, not using your head to think things through and present a solution rather than a problem. When we do those things, the people in power and in charge do not take us seriously. They see us as a disruption. They see that we're really not a player. A player suits up, they get on the court and they work out, they practice. They don't bring their attitudes. So learn how to conduct yourself calmly and with self-respect. Now, this is difficult because women, we are emotional. I like to say that women's emotional range is like the Eiffel Tower. It's so high and it's so low. And then the masculine emotional range is about like my pinky finger. Maybe they have it, in all fairness, but they don't really exercise it to the same degree that we exercise it. So I recommend self-development, meditation, exercise, gardening, kickboxing, massage, courses in emotional sobriety. All of these things, you know, business, that's part of the workout of business, is learning how to behave in a way that has you fit in with the tribe rather than sticking out as not somebody who belongs. Okay, learn to think on your feet. Learn to think before you speak. Learn to take a breath, respond, don't react. These are all qualities and attributes that can be learned. And how I know is I've learned them. I'm not perfect, but I'm a lot better than I was before I had this awareness. Okay, next. What do women do that shoots themselves in the foot? Well, we undermine teamwork. We do a terrible thing. We compete with other women. We call them names behind their back. If they're successful, we try to undermine them. We act like men are stupid. We basically talk badly about others, or with our attitudes, we let them know that we don't think well of them. In some situations, sometimes women even get the contract. They know that the business needs to be done by the end of the day, but at 5 to 5, they sachet the contract in to the person that needs it and has to put the final seal of approval on it. Just being bad, not being collaborative, not being cooperative, not supporting your team. When the powers that be see that, right away they know this person is not a player. She's ultimately going to work her way out of a job. And the reason they know that is because real teams don't play like that. Real teams, look, you don't have to go home with him or her. All you have to do is work with him or her. You have to have 8 hours a day where you get along and support the person. So don't undermine your teammates. Make them look good. Ultimately, it makes you look good if you make your teammates look good. Now, sometimes we whine, well, he's too tough or she's too tough. They're asking too much of me. I'm not capable of this. Well, guess what? Men created the game of business to be tough because men are tough and they like to play hard. If you watch the gridiron, you know that men like to bang their heads together just for the fun of it. So if the tough game is not yours, you have two choices: toughen up or find another planet. Business is tough. So acknowledge your teammates, appreciate your teammates, celebrate with your teammates. There's nothing like celebrating a victory with your teammates. It creates so much bonding, so much oxytocin, so much good feelings. You make yourself the CEO, the celebration executive officer. You bring it in your company. People will appreciate you for that. Okay, so what are we going to next? This is actually my favorite one. A lot of them are my favorite ones. So don't take anything personally. If a man at work or out of work hits on you, it's not personal. He's just doing what he's been taught to do, and he's seeing if it's going to work on you. Or even if he yells at you, he's just doing what he's been taught to do. It's not about you. Do not take anything that happens personally in business. And if you want to be really happy in life, don't take anything that happens to you personally in life either, because no one means it personally. Uh-oh, it says I'm muted. Am I muted? Can y'all still hear me? Okay, good. Y'all can hear me. None of it is about you. They're just being themselves. They're doing what they were taught to do. They're doing what they learned to do. It's not about you. Now, if we were doing a longer class we would actually look at that. One of the ways that men sabotage women, because there's culturally learned behaviors that do not work in creating equality between men and women. And women have to take charge to, I guess, disengage from these cultural behaviors. We would look at that seduction is one of the ways that men take women out, is they seduce them, they listen to them. And women have to know that that is just a cultural game that men have been taught to play. But don't buy into it. Ladies, you set the tone. Be professional. Don't flirt with the men at work. They don't understand it. They take it the wrong way. They make stories up about you. They disqualify you from the advancement. Be fun and playful, but don't be personal with them. Don't let them tell you about their lives. Don't go out and have alcohol with them. Don't set yourself up for mess ups. Now, I'm only qualified to speak to these things because I've done every single one of these things. And you know what they say about the people that have the most experience? Well, they're the ones that have made the most mistakes. So take notes. You set the tone. Be a professional. Even if someone says something that offends you, don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's their own limitation speaking. Okay, let's move on. So one way women shoot themselves in the foot is that they underestimate themselves. They don't ask more of themselves. They don't go the extra mile. They think it's just a job, or it's just the way I make my living. It's really not that important. No, what you spend your time doing is either building your self-esteem in your own eyes, or it's lowering your self-esteem. So find out how to be excellent. Find out what your definition of excellence is. Put your heart into it. Whatever it is you do it as best as you can. And when it's done, ask yourself, what could I have done better? What worked? What didn't work? Top performers do this, whether they're male or female. Don't think that just because you're cute, that that's going to be enough. You are cute, but that's not enough. Being cute is nowhere near as satisfying as landing the contract, making your numbers for the week, getting all your paperwork in on time, getting agent of the year. Being cute is paltry compared to those things. So ask the most of yourself that you possibly can and get support around you to accomplish being who you really want to be. Okay, next one. Women talk about their feelings. Yeah, well, we have feelings, but business is really not the place to bring the feelings. And typically, if you say, I feel that this project would be a good one for our company to invest in, then more than likely, the moment the words I feel are out of your mouth, they're totally stopping listening to you, because business is math. Marketing is math. Business is all about results. If you're not talking about the results, they know you're not a player. If you're talking about your feelings, they know that you're a girl. Well, girls can say, I see, I observe, according to my calculations, performance from last year indicates that. Couch it in language that business people want to hear, and let your emotions do the talking. Let your enthusiasm speak. Let your reservations speak. Like I said, we have the emotional range of the Eiffel Tower. Use it, ladies, but use the language that comes out of your mouth, the words that come out of your mouth, have them be business talk. Okay, now, I'm sure none of us have ever done this next upcoming foot shooter. But, you know, women have been known to act dumb. I remember once I had a supervisor who said something to me about my relationship with one of my colleagues. And I looked at him with my best dumb look on my face. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, Karen, you know what I mean. And inside I was blushing furiously, but outside I was doing my best to stay calm, because he called me on something. And instead of just admitting it and showing how truly intelligent I was and that I was somebody that he could trust to tell the truth to, I acted dumb. So say what you see, trust yourself. When someone gives you feedback, just accept what they're saying. Think about it later. Don't act like you don't know what they're talking about. If they're telling you, they trust that you're capable of taking in that piece of information, and they are trusting you to adjust what you're doing accordingly. So take it home, think about it, don't act dumb. Who wants someone dumb on their team? That's dumb. Nobody wants that. Okay, so now the 10th and final way that women shoot themselves in the foot is that they argue. They may argue with their employer. They may argue with their coworkers. They may argue with their spouses. Now, something I want to tell you about men. Men actually like women a lot. Men are interested in women. They watch us. They're curious about us. They feel attracted to us. But the moment that we go into argument or competition with us, they cease to see us as women. And all they feel is the fight. And men like to fight. So as soon as you start arguing with them or competing with them or trying to put them down, they don't see you as the fair sex anymore. They now want to get into it with you. And when a man and a woman argue, nobody wins. It's a lose-lose game. So instead of reacting and arguing, let's practice some key phrases and the tone of your voice. I see it differently. Just try that. I see it differently. And then find out if they want to know why you see it differently. They may not actually want to know. Or you could say, would you like my perspective on that? And maybe they don't. If they don't want it, it's probably not a good idea to give it. Now, if there's someone that you're supervising, you can still use these tones. I see it differently. Would you like my perspective? Don't argue. Don't get into catfights at work. Not with women and not with men. There's no profit in it. All it does is basically pee in the hot tub, right? It just wrecks the whole environment for everyone. Okay, so these are the 10 big ways that women shoot themselves in the foot when money and power are on the table. If you're in the business world, I'm going to imagine that money is important to you and probably influence is important to you as well. So we're going to talk about the do's because we talked about the don'ts. Let's talk about the do's. Develop clarity as to what you desire. If it takes a coach to do that, if it takes talking with your friends, writing, journaling, going to a workshop, find out what you truly want. Because when you have that fire of desire inside of you, you are unbeatable because you're not doing this for anybody else. You're doing it for yourself, to fulfill yourself. Business is a wonderful opportunity to fulfill your own desires and aspirations. And then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with the people that can help you get there. Leslie has been wonderful. I said to her, Leslie, I would love to give this talk at Women in Financial Services National. And she said, you know what? I'm going to invite those people and I'm going to make sure it's recorded so we can enter you into the pool of prospective speakers for the next conference. So I'm asking for help all the time to get where I want to go. Don't hold back. Ask for what you want. Typically, people love to help each other. And when your true desire is speaking, they want to help you even more. So second thing to do, belong to a team. There's nothing like camaraderie. My employer, Dr. Michael Hartley, who's our head coach at our business in Austin, he says to me, Karen, you can call me anytime, whatever you have going on. Just call me. I know I'm your employer, but if you have something that you need, please call me. And you know what? I've called on him numerous times to do things that are a little out of the ordinary because I know he's my teammate. He's got my back. There's nothing like that. Linda, the woman who's running my tech right now, she's my teammate. I don't pay her, but she's a part of my team. She's got my back, and I'm going to do anything I can do for her. There's nothing like that. Nothing like feeling like you belong to an extended family. So the third rule of the game, be dedicated, be intense about it. The same way you are with your household responsibilities and your family and how you take care of yourself and your body, bring that kind of dedication and intensity to your work. Find out how you can be really on all the time at work so that you get the notice of the people that are in charge, because they're really the ones that can help you get what you want. They have the purse strings, they have the org chart. Or maybe you're the one with the purse strings and the org chart, but you want to be able to feel that vibe of dedication and intensity, because then your teammates are going to be attracted to you. They're going to want to play. You're going to find people out there who feel your intensity and they want to play that game. They want you to mentor them. So yeah, play the game like that with passion. And be calm and respectful. Cultivate that ability that moms everywhere have not to fly off the handle at their children. Cultivate the ability to take a deep breath, say what you see. Oh, I see that. You just say what you see. Support your team and acknowledge and appreciate your teammates. Call them out. Give them public recognition. Say thank you. Tell them what they're doing that works. In fact, when I learned with my mentor, what he taught me was 10 appreciations to every 1 correction. So 10 to 1. Acknowledge, appreciate, acknowledge, acknowledge, acknowledge. Then after 10 of those, point out what they can do better. Okay, some more rules of the game. Practice taking nothing personally. First of all, it's not personal. Even if they say you did this, it's not personal. It's them talking. When a person has an upset, the upset belongs to them. If they share it, that's one thing, but you don't have to take it. You could just say inside, no, thank you. Not my upset. Aspire higher for yourself. Have a goal in life of where you want to go. Have something that blows your mind. Like for me to be an international trainer, able to travel to 80 countries that my company operates in and train their coaches. Yeah, I've wanted that since I first found out I love to be on stage. And will I ever accomplish that? I don't know. But the fact is that it turns me on and it makes me want to be my best every day. And it makes me want to dot my I's and cross my T's, even though I'm not a detail person. So aspire higher for yourself. Find out what would make your life magnificent. Write it down. Talk to your friends about it. You're an amazing person. And talk about results. Talk about actions that you're going to take. Talk about actions you see that other people can take. And talk about the score. At all times, know what the score is. How are we doing this year versus last year? Because that's what motivates your players, is hearing, hey, we're 10% ahead of we were last year. Let's go for 20. Then there's a game in play. People can get their energy behind a shared goal. So talk about the score. And at all times, continue to learn, gain confidence, and ask questions. Even if you're going into a meeting that you're petrified about and you're not sure how you're going to do, tell yourself, I'm here to learn. I'm here to gain confidence. I'm here to find out how I can be of more service. And then learn to yield, be curious, and say, I see it differently. And yielding is just not pushing back. It's not arguing. It's not having to be right. It's not having to make your point of view more important than anybody else's point of view. So these are the rules of the game. Let's see, is there anything else, Linda? I think perhaps what's next is questions. Oh, but I will tell you, if you have a situation in your life where it hasn't gone well with a man, or there's a challenging man in your environment, or it could be a challenging woman, because truly these rules apply to anyone. I just put them in the context of business because it's the masculine mind that created business. If you have something you'd like to discuss, a situation, an opportunity, promotion, how to play it, a tough client prospect who won't say yes, and you want to find out how to work more effectively with them, then just go to my Calendly link, please. There should be lots of 20-minute discovery calls available in there. Happy to talk to you. Really, when I discovered this work about men and women, I discovered it 25 years ago, and I have been nothing but curious about it ever since. And I have really helped with this learning lots of women out of situations that were repeatedly happening, where they didn't close the sale or where they lost the business to a crony of the prospect. Many, many things that knowing this information can really just make you more money and have you have more effectiveness with people. So that's what I'm talking about. What's next?
Well, we'd like to open it up for any questions. You can unmute yourself and reach out to Karen now. Any questions?
Hi, Karen. My name is Cindy. And basically, one of the things that I wanted to share when you were talking about the culture and the male culture, one of the things that I've discovered, just kind of I happened upon it, and really I think Brittany and I kind of sort of touched on it when I was talking about when we did the survey earlier, or the breakout, about men, and about the way I feel about how my counterparts with that is. And one of the things that an obstacle that is never going to be overcome is when you're in a company that there's a driven culture. I'll just give you an example. So I was in a German-based company, and I recall being up against a young lady who didn't have the same credentials I did, and I had gone specifically to school to get my MBA in and directly in marketing, but yet no matter what I did, it didn't matter, because that young lady was going to get the job over me because she was the same culture. She was there saying in there, she was part of that German culture. And so it didn't matter that my ideas, it was about she was part of their culture, and they were trying to continue to bring that culture in. So what do you feel about those kind of things?
I think you're right. There are cultural advantages that it's going to be difficult to overcome. I would call it kind of a tribal mentality.
Agreed.
People do tend to take care of their tribe,
Right.
because it's an extension of the family. And so if we were fortunate enough to grow up in a family culture, then we know what it is to take care of our own. And I would say that sounds a little bit like what it is that you're referring to. Am I right?
Yes, that's exactly right. And I thought, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, because we went up neck and neck on the whole job. And the next thing I know, I'm like, they're like, well, she did this when she was back in our country. And I was like, there you go. I mean, it just sealed the deal. I mean, I just knew immediately that was what it was about. And it didn't matter what skills I had, or what I had already, offered to the company to begin with. So
I think that you nailed it really well. And what it brings me back to is, I think it was rule number 2, the way that women shoot themselves in the foot is that they go it alone. And it also applies to rule number 1, is that if you find what you truly love and what fascinates you, then what happens is you also gather around you a tribe of women that are fascinated by the same thing. That's why they say birds of a feather flock together, right? And you see a certain type of people in the fashion industry, certain type of people in the speaker industry. So finding out what you love and really floats your boat is going to let your tribe be attracted to you. And they're actually the ones that are going to help you get where you want to go, just like he helped her get where she wanted to go. that is the way it works. And that's why I say super vital to find out what you love and bring people around you who also love what you do. Even if it's a hobby like hot air ballooning, well, hot air ballooning people buy insurance as well, right? So you can build your tribe around your passion, and then they'll need your professional services, and they'll actually help you to advance in your profession.
To coattail on what Cindy mentioned, I'm on the corporate side, and I see a definite trend. So my first director level position, I had interviewed over the phone, and I have to say I'm incredibly grateful I did, because when I was in the room, the field vice presidents at the time and their director, they look like they could it could either be their son or daughter, or someone that was very attractive. So that pretty girl quotient, I think, is definitely a play, and I'm seeing that as I mature in my career, that, and we talk about this all the time offline, and it's not just my experiences. It's, I have a friend that's a pharmacist, and the director over her pharmacy, you know, that pretty girl quotient. And then someone who is working in like the OSHA arena with an oil company, same thing. You know, the ones that are fast tracked typically don't come in the wrapper like mine. And I look at LinkedIn profiles all the time, and it's amazing that how people gravitate towards other people. So how would you suggest you overcome that? Because I think there's a definite bias there. I don't think I know.
I'm curious, will you clarify what you're asking? How I would suggest you overcome what?
So you talk about building your network and growing, and I feel like, and it's not just me, but a lot of people in my network, we have solid networks, but we're never considered for that next level up. And why? Because going back to what Cindy said around that connection piece. And so it's not about education, it's not about credentials, it's not about experience. It's more that connection. But how do you connect when people find better connections with other people? So it seems like it's kind of like this dating scenario. And we've seen it, and we talk about it openly with my network, because we watch people fast track into roles that they're really not qualified for. And it's not because we're not saying that we want those roles and those opportunities and that exposure, volunteering for projects. So how do you overcome that?
That's a great question. I'm not sure I know the answer, because I'm not sure I entirely understand the question. And I don't mean to be dense at all, but I just don't completely understand the question yet.
Are you talking more along the lines, Melinda, when it comes to your being attractive and someone overlooking that you're attractive?
Well, she brought that up in the presentation, and I do think that there's a factor in that. And it's not just being attractive, it's being able to identify with the decision makers, because I've seen it time and time again where, like, for example, there was a field vice president in the Northeast who had dark hair, dark features, and his director, dark-haired girl, very attractive, looked like it could have been his daughter. And it's time and time again, I'm seeing this pattern. And how do you overcome that when you don't fit that bill?
That is, it's a little more clear what you're saying right now. And I really appreciate what you're saying, because if you look on the playing field, like someone said earlier, I think it was, I don't remember who it was, but because I can't see everyone's picture right now. in the industry, it's a male-dominated industry, which most industries are still at this point. So when men look out and they see all those men, they identify those men as players. And they identify us as something else because they're used to identifying us as something else. They're used to identifying us with the home front instead of with the business world. So yes, the masculine will gravitate towards male players because they know, like, and trust them. They'll also gravitate to the cultural look that people have. It's called the tribal again. Now, I just want to point out how in tune y'all's questions are to what women notice. But men are noticing different things. Now, what men are actually noticing is they're noticing the value that you bring. And so bringing value is super important. Playing your best game, actually asking for acknowledgement. Hey, did you notice that I made my numbers this week? I sent them to you at the end of the week, but it's Wednesday and I haven't heard you comment on them. Did you notice that I made all my KPIs last week? So continuing to point out to them what they might not be seeing, and just keep bringing the value. Keep bringing the value. It's not only about how we look, but women do notice that. It's ultimately who can do the best job in most situations. Cronyism does exist, Melinda. That's one reason why lots of people decide they're going to found a team, because they don't want to play that game. They want to set a new standard for the game. Now, if you have a particular situation, schedule 20 minutes with me. We'll talk a little bit more about it.
So I just have a comment in relationship to that. I have found that if you can connect yourself with a mentor that kind of looks like that job that you want, that could open doors, because the mentor is the person that opens the door for you. So perhaps, Melinda, if you're talking to people that you're recruiting or for friends, if there's a specific organization that they're interested in and they want a specific position, maybe kind of starting to open doors through the mentor might be a way of doing it. But a person's bias, like the one you mentioned with the dark hair, I don't know how you're going to get through that. But I do think that having a male mentor that looks like kind of the roles that you want might be a way of opening doors. I don't, Karen, do you have any comment on that?
A mentor is super important. I would never be where I am today without my mentor. Never. I looked for a mentor from age 16 till 34. And then I flew to Hawaii to meet someone and I took him as my mentor. But I want to talk about the bias. So when I always like to, I call them linguists, but it always reminds me of pasta, like linguinists. But linguists are the people that study language. And what they say is that of the whole pie of communication, so we have 100% pie of communication, we're going to slice it into slices that only 7 or 9% is the words. 7% is the words that we use. 41% is the tone. 20-something% is the body language. So that's where learning something like matching and mirroring, or practicing rapport building skills. Some of the sales trainings teach them. Neurolinguistic programming teaches this. Then you start to fit in whether you look like them or not. For example, maybe they don't talk with their hands, but you do. And you'll notice that the people around them don't talk with their hands. Well, I talk with my hands. It's really hard for me to not talk with my hands. But if I want to build rapport with someone that doesn't talk with their hands, I'm going to have to let other things do the talking. I'm going to have to find out what's their preferred modality. So just, again, it has to do with what people are used to and what they're used to doing and being. And how can you blend in with that rather than come in and jar their space? Because again, remember, drama disrupts the pace of business. Well, not matching and mirroring also disrupts the pace of business. Coming in with a super loud voice into a subdued room or vice versa. So if you want to cultivate connection with someone, you need to learn as much as you can about them, find out how do they receive communication, and then practice that kind of communication. In a way, that's what the whole talk was about.
Jerry,
Who else? What do y'all want to know?
we can take one more question.
Here, I'll address this. This was actually in one of the comments in there. And I know it's the whole point of communication and talking like with them. But okay, I'm originally from Chicago, and I come down to Texas. It's a good old boys club. If I don't hunt, they don't talk. I don't hunt. So I guess who I don't talk to, hunters. But a lot of the times in this industry, the guys have come up with, it's the good old boy club. And that's where some women are finding it a little bit more difficult to go in. If you don't hunt or you don't do certain things that they do, they're automatically going to disqualify you. Whether your performance outdoes theirs, whether you are better at it than they are, or you talk the same as them, you could identify with some things in them, they still do it. How do you address that good old boy club thing?
That's a great question, Michelle. I actually see it a little bit differently. And would you like to hear my perspective?
Sure, that's why I brought it up.
We actually are hunters. If we're in the business world tracking down business, we actually are hunters. And when they talk about that, there is a ton that we can learn there from the language of hunting about how to become a better business person. And then the other thing is, we did not, again, like I was joking, you don't have to go home with him or her. You just have to do business with them 8 hours a day and make the teamwork work. So in those social situations, it's not that they won't include us. They actually will include us. But we reject them because we don't feel comfortable. So how I see it as an opportunity to stretch our comfort zone. And you know what it means when you stretch your comfort zone in the world of money and power? You learn how the money and power game are played. Literally, I'm not saying that you like them, and I'm not saying that they don't have a club. Clearly, they do have a club. But here's the thing, they'll give you admission to the club, but you have to stop making them wrong for being the way they are. They're just the way that they are. Men are not going to change. I mean, they'll change a little, but here's the truth. They let us into their club. Business is also a club. So they let us into the club where before it was only men. This club didn't let women in to the halls of power. So if we want into the halls of power where the cash is flowing, then we have to get curious about who those people are instead of opinionated about who those people are. And one woman like Condoleezza Rice, when she was in, was it Bush's administration? Condoleezza Rice had all the men eating out of her hand because she never argued with them. She didn't push them around. She sat in the halls of power and she listened to what each individual player needed and wanted. She didn't say, oh, that's the cabinet. Those guys are this way. She just said, okay, there's this hunting club and I want to do business with them because they have access to what I want. For me, I don't know about you, it's money and influence. I want to make the world a better place. I want to make it more likely that diversity is going to be respected in the workplace. I want to be able to pay for my son's college education, and I want to pave the way for women to understand that they actually have the power by virtue of their femininity if they know how to use it. That's what I want to leave behind. But guess what? In order to do that, whose ear do I need? I need the ear of men. I need men to listen to me about the kind of education that their women employees need. I need them to understand that there's something of value to educating their women differently than they educate their men. And if they don't find value because I failed to speak to them in a way that they could hear and buy into and see what's in it for them, that's not their fault. The buck stops here in my sales career. If I can't do it, I need to keep learning until I can do it. And so just really to see those guys as people, they have what you want. How can you harmonize with them? So for so many years, the war between the sexes has put us on the battlefield with men. And now what I'm proposing is harmonizing with men, taking us off the battlefield and onto the playing field. And on the playing field is where the cash and the good times happening. Remember, players earn more than workers. And hunting is a metaphor. It's applicable for our career. I hope that answered your question somewhat.
Yeah, it did, and I hope it answered the other person's question as well too, with their comments. So, yeah.
Great. Wonderful. Well, Karen, thank you so much. This was a fabulous presentation. I learned a lot. I think that when you go through this kind of presentation, you think about yourself and you want to be genuine, but like Karen said, you have to be open to what the men are wanting to do. So I don't hunt either, but I have a great relationship with a lot of men that do, because I show interest and I become involved in maybe just a different way. I won't go out and shoot, but I talk to them about it, or I support their charities. And I think that way you're being genuine to yourself and not being excited about something that you don't do, but you're also showing support. And I love that. I thought that was a great last question to end the super presentation. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for what you said, Leslie, too. Curiosity about the other is genuinely what diversity training needs to boil down to. I mean, the masculine and the feminine, we are two different cultures. We really are. Like, we did an experiment one time. We had men get together and the orders were prepare a dinner. And we had women get together and their orders were prepare a dinner. That's all we told them. And in the masculine group and the men, one guy appointed himself the head and he gave orders. And everyone fulfilled a role. And in the group of women, they broke off into little friendship groups, and some of them prepared the salad and others polished the wine glasses and opened the bottles. And so women are more self-organizing, men are more hierarchical, but that hierarchical way of thinking has brought a lot of value to our world. So we got to respect that and then insinuate ourselves in such a way that they can listen to our ideas that might actually nurture the people and make us have not only more efficient organizations, but also more compassionate organizations. That's really up to us. That's probably not going to happen with the male thinking.
Right. Well, perfect. And thank you so much, Karen. Very much appreciate it.
So much fun. Thank you so much, ladies, for your questions, for your